You ever have one of those neighbors who thinks they own the entire neighborhood? Well, meet Karen, the self-appointed queen of our HOA. She didn't just enforce the rules, she created them. Her kingdom, every driveway, mailbox, and especially my perfectly trimmed emerald green lawn. It all started on a quiet Saturday morning. The sun was barely up, birds were singing, and I was sipping my coffee, admiring the new automated sprinkler system I'd installed the night before. It was my little weekend project, a smart irrigation setup that watered the yard in perfect sections, timed with precision. I was proud. Too proud apparently for Karen's liking, because within minutes, I saw her marching across the street like a soldier on a mission. Phone in one hand, clipboard in the other, sunglasses on even though the sun hadn't fully risen yet. She had that look. You know the one? Half disgust, half superiority. "Excuse me," she barked from the sidewalk. "This grass looks too green. It's against HOA water guidelines." I blinked. Too green? That wasn't even a rule. But before I could respond, she started snapping photos of my yard like she was working for the CSI. Lawn edition. Then she did something I'll never forget. She stepped right onto my grass. My private property. She didn't just trespass. She stomped across my new sprinkler heads while muttering about violations. That's when something inside me snapped. I'd put up with her notes on my mailbox, her lectures about trash bins, her constant friendly reminders. But this was the final straw. As she leaned over to take another photo, my phone buzzed, my sprinkler app alert. I looked at the screen, then at her. An idea sparked. One tap. That's all it would take. I smiled politely and said, "Karen, maybe you should step back." She scoffed. "I'll do no such PFFFT." The sprinkler jets burst to life around her like a watery ambush. Streams of cold water shot from every direction, drenching her perfectly ironed blouse and freshly curled hair. She shrieked, spinning in circles, waving her phone in the air like it could stop the storm. I just stood there, sipping my coffee, trying not to laugh. She screamed, "Turn it off right now!" And I said calmly, "Sorry, Karen. HOA rules say I have to water at this time." That was just the beginning. Because after the sprinkler incident, things in our neighborhood would never be the same. The next morning, the air in the neighborhood felt tense. You know that uneasy calm before a storm. That was Karen. I spotted her through my blinds, standing in her driveway, phone glued to her ear, whispering urgently. Every few seconds, she'd glance toward my house with that signature glare. I didn't need to guess who she was talking to. It was probably the HOA board, or maybe the city water department, or both. By noon, I got the first email. Subject, urgent, HOA water violation notice. Karen had filed a complaint claiming my sprinklers posed a hazard, and that my aggressive watering schedule was creating unsafe conditions. Unsafe? The only unsafe thing here was her attitude. Still, I played it cool. I replied professionally, attaching the HOA's own watering schedule, which, ironically, she had helped write, and politely noted that I was fully compliant. An hour later, I heard her voice outside my window. "I don't care what the rules say!" He drenched me on purpose. She wasn't on the phone anymore. She was yelling at poor Mr. Jenkins, the HOA president, who had shown up to investigate. The man looked exhausted. Before he even reached my porch, "Hey there," I greeted, stepping outside. "Beautiful day for some irrigation, huh?" He sighed. "Listen, Karen says you, assaulted her with sprinklers." I almost laughed. "Assaulted? With water?" Karen jumped in. "He attacked me!" "Look, my phone was ruined. It cost me $800. "Then maybe don't trespass on people's lawns," I said calmly. Her eyes widened. "Excuse me?" "Oh, I have footage," I added, tapping my phone. "Security cameras. Would you like me to show you where you walked across my yard without permission?" Her expression froze. The color drained from her face like someone had pulled the plug. Mr. Jenkins rubbed his temples. "Karen, did you step onto his property?" I was just inspecting," she stammered. He shook his head. "That's trespassing. You can't do that." And just like that, the tables turned. Karen stormed off, muttering something about revenge and rules needing to change. I knew she wouldn't let it go. And sure enough, that evening, new HOA flyers appeared in everyone's mailboxes, drafts for revised lawn compliance regulations. Guess whose name was on the bottom as proposal author? Karen's. I smiled. "Game on," I whispered, because if she wanted a war over my sprinklers, she had no idea what she was up against. By the next week, it felt like I was living in a suburban battlefield. Karen had gone full general, organizing, plotting, and waging an HOA campaign like it was the battle of the century. Every house on our street got a pamphlet titled, "The Lawn Law, Restoring Order to Our Neighborhood." It listed new suggested policies like banning automated sprinklers, limiting watering hours, and requiring HOA approval for all lawn modifications. Basically, it was the anti-me rulebook. I found her one afternoon stapling flyers to the community board by the mailbox area, her hair still slightly frizzy from that infamous sprinkler ambush. I walked over slowly, coffee in hand, wearing the calmest smile I could manage. "Afternoon, Karen," I said. "You planning to outlaw grass next?" She turned, glaring. "Laugh all you want, but this neighborhood deserves order. You've made a mockery of the HOA. Pretty sure you did that yourself," I replied. Her nostrils flared. "This is your warning. Once this passes, your little sprinkler toys are coming down." I shrugged. Good luck with that. What she didn't know was that I'd already read the HOA bylaws front to back. Her proposed changes couldn't pass without a full neighborhood vote. And my neighbors? Most of them couldn't stand her constant power trips. So I decided to do a little campaigning of my own. That evening, I printed my own flyers. Protect your property rights. Vote no on Karen's lawn laws. I slipped them into mailboxes, added a few friendly notes, and included a QR code linking to a short video. In the clip, I showed Karen marching onto my lawn, yelling about too green grass, and getting caught in the sprinkler storm. I didn't add commentary. I didn't need to. The footage spoke for itself. By morning, the video had gone viral on our neighborhood forum. Comments poured in. Classic Karen behavior. She deserved that sprinkler bath. Leave the man's lawn alone. Even the HOA president posted a simple, "Let's all try to respect boundaries." When Karen saw it, her face turned redder than a stop sign. She confronted me that evening, shaking with fury. "You think this is funny?" she screamed. "You've embarrassed me in front of everyone." I tilted my head. "You embarrassed yourself, Karen. I just hit record." Her voice dropped to a cold whisper. "You'll regret this." Then she turned and stormed off into the night, her heels clicking like gunshots on the pavement. I had no idea just how far she'd go next. It was 6 a.m. on a Monday when I realized Karen wasn't done. She was just getting started. I stepped outside to grab my newspaper and froze. My front yard looked like a crime scene. Someone, I wonder who, had placed bright orange violation flags across the grass, each one labeled pending HOA review, and taped to my mailbox, a formal notice. Effective immediately. Cease all sprinkler operations pending HOA investigation. Karen's signature was stamped proudly at the bottom. I laughed. She really thought she'd won. But that's when I spotted something even more ridiculous. Karen herself, standing across the street in her robe, holding a notepad, watching me, like some kind of self-appointed water warden. I waved. She didn't wave back. Instead, she shouted, "Don't even think about turning those sprinklers on. You're under suspension." I calmly pulled out my phone. "Funny," I said, because according to the HOA president's email, I tapped my screen. "The board hasn't approved any suspension." She froze. "You're lying. Check your inbox," I said with a grin. See, what Karen didn't know was that after her ridiculous law proposal, Mr. Jenkins and half the HOA board had finally had enough. They'd quietly voted to suspend her authority until further notice. Turns out trespassing on a member's property and harassing residents wasn't exactly good. Leadership material. Her eyes darted as she fumbled for her phone. And right then, the sprinklers came alive. Peffut! Shh! Streams of cold water shot across the lawn, catching the morning sunlight like 1,000 tiny rainbows. And poor Karen, standing right at the edge of the curb, got blasted again. She screamed, stumbling backward into a puddle. "You did that on purpose." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "Actually," I said, "they're on a timer." HOA approved. The neighbors started coming out, one by one, drawn by the chaos. Phones came up. Cameras rolled. Someone yelled, "Round 2, Karen!" And the laughter spread like wildfire. She stormed off, drenched and defeated, muttering words that were definitely not HOA approved. Later that week, an official letter arrived in every mailbox. HOA announcement. Effective immediately. Karen has been removed from her position as HOA compliance officer. I pinned that letter to my fridge like a trophy. Now every time I water my lawn, I can't help but smile. The sprinklers hiss softly, the grass glistens, and peace has finally returned to the neighborhood. Well, mostly, because every now and then, I catch a glimpse of Karen's blinds twitching. And I know, somewhere inside, she's plotting her next move. But this time, my sprinklers are ready. Looks like the sprinklers handled this one. If you enjoyed that sweet dose of karma, hit the like button, subscribe for more crazy HOA stories, and comment below if you think Karen totally deserved it.